Thank you all for being here this evening. I will introduce us all in a moment, but before I do that, I would like to ask anybody who hasn't already to please sign in with Robin in the back there. If you were at the previous hearing and you signed in, you don't have to sign in again, but it's helpful. And if you want to participate in any sort of appeal or anything like that that might happen after this hearing, you do need to sign in. So if you haven't, please do that. If you intend to speak here this evening or give any sort of testimony, I am going to ask you to swear in. So if you intend to speak, if you would please raise your right hand. And do you hereby affirm that the testimony you will offer this evening tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Okay, so I'm the chair of the Zoning Board of Adjustment. My name is Jonah Meacham. I have Skip Marcassani here, Becky Browning, and Rick Cannon. Mike McGlynn will be joining us in a moment, but he's been through all this part, so he's chosen to skip it this evening. And what I'm going to do is I will take us through what we're going to do tonight and talk a little bit about that, and then we'll jump into it. So what we'll be doing here tonight is we're going to review what has happened up to this point to get us here to this hearing. I will review the governing statute from the town ordinance, zoning ordinance. We will hear from our Swenson representation over here. We're also we have Cloud Alliance here this evening, who has a vested interest in the proceedings we talk about. They have a tower up in the Swenson property, so we're going to hear from them this evening. We will then discuss some conditions that the Zoning Board of Administration is considering if we were to approve the application. These are conditions that we discussed after the last hearing in our deliberative session. At that point, we will open it up for comment from the public. We will give Swenson an opportunity to respond or give any sort of response or clarification to anything that the public raises. The board will then ask any questions that we might want to, and after that we will stand in recess. You will notice I said recess and not as adjourn because this is an ongoing proceeding. This is the second hearing in this process. We will not be making a decision here tonight as the board. We will be listening to all of the testimony, questions, and such, and then there will be we will have another deliberative session at a later date, and we'll determine whether or not there needs to be any more public hearing or whether there will be a decision made that will be issued in writing. Okay? All right. Yeah. Oh, yes, thank you very much. Yes. So you'll notice two tables of documents here. On my left, your right, are documents that have been submitted to the town by Swenson and their consultant, Bowman. There's maps. There are some assessments. You may not take any of those home with you. Please leave those all here. But you are welcome to go look at them. Those live in the town office, so if you want to look at them again, they are available in the town offices. This side has various documents related to the application, including a couple of letters submitted by by Bowman, the consultant. Those you are welcome to look at and take with you. So, stays here, take with you. All right.
Question.
Yes.
The documents over there, are they identical to the Act 250 permit documents, or are they new? Different?
They are. They're the same. These are the documents that were submitted for Act.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, so what has gotten us here to this point? So Swenson's Quarry, they have been operating for more than 100 years, which predates the zoning ordinances for the town. They have a non-conforming use approval from previous versions of this board, and they have applied for amendments to that approval over time. And what we are reviewing here tonight is a current application for another amendment to that non-conforming use, which would include expansion and some other things that we'll talk about here this evening, and were talked about in the previous hearing. So the big thing is expanding the footprint, as well as expanding some of the operations, including beginning to crush some of their grout, the waste stone that they have up there, which would then be trucked out. They would sell and truck out. I think, as everyone knows, there was a hearing that was held here in November. Bowman took us through, the Swenson consultant took us, Colin from Bowman, I will continue to refer to you, took us through, outlined what the request was. We heard public comment on that, and we recessed. As I said, this board met for a deliberative session after we had received a letter, which you will find over there, and I'm going to read again. I will read aloud in a moment, that Bowman sent to us on January 14th, that had some responses to some of the comments and some of the issues that were raised, and some clarification. So we'll read that here in a little bit. There was on Front Porch Forum, it was posted that the zoning board, the ZBA, was receiving comments from the general public. There's Mike McGlynn, our other member. Yeah, thanks, Mike. You haven't missed anything you don't already know. So those comments, while the board has seen them and looked at them, they sit outside of these proceedings. The forum for public comment is here in the hearing, the previous hearing, and in this hearing. What was asked at the previous hearing was for people who had given testimony at the last hearing who wanted to submit that testimony or clarification on that testimony in writing. That was the request. So just to clarify that where those comments sit within this official process. Okay.
Sorry, Joe, can you explain what that means?
So what that means is this is a quasi-judicial body, and should anyone either in the public or Swenson's not be happy with whatever the results are here, they can appeal that. The comments that we received through Front Porch Forum from people who were not at the previous hearing would not be part of those proceedings. Does that make sense?
It does, for what you said.
That's simply what the Vermont state statutes say, is that any appeal to what happens here will be based on the information that is gathered here. Okay.
Is there a process for people who are unable to make it to one of these meetings to have a second version?
I don't think so.
Maybe, yeah, I don't know. They're like ADA inaccessible, if they can't make it because,
Because I'm supposed to be at a school board meeting.
oh,
How about that?
yeah, that's important.
I mean-
really.
What I would say, Darren, is it's like any court case. If you don't show up at the court for the court proceeding, you can't testify.
But you can submit briefs to the court in court
Yeah.
cases.
Also, the comments that come in public, the applicant has an opportunity to respond to.
I don't know.
And
I don't know.
You want me first?
What?
You want to be first?
Yeah, no, understood. We will, noted, but, yeah, in terms of that, I don't know if there's a mechanism provided for in the state law, in the state statutes for that. Yeah. Yeah.
You gotta stand up, you gotta talk loud, so we can't pick it up and state your name
Has
and
the
location.
town hired a lawyer?
No.
What?
For these proceedings, the town does not have a lawyer. The select board is also here tonight. I don't know whether they have hired a lawyer there's also an Act 250 process that is part of these, that is not directly connected to this proceeding, but is part of what Swenson needs to go through to expand their operations. I believe there's a lawyer that's part of that for the town. Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yep.
Thanks.
Just so everyone is aware, Diana is sitting up here not in her capacity as a select board member, but as the scribe for she wears multiple hats with the town. So sometimes we ask her to switch those hats. Okay. Where am I at here? Met and discussed. All right, great. Any other questions before I read the governing statute from the zoning ordinance? Great. Okay, this is from section 2.11 in the zoning ordinance, non-conforming uses and non-complying structures. The following provisions shall apply to all buildings and uses lawfully existing on the effective date of these regulations or any pertinent amendment thereto, which do not conform to the requirements of these regulations. 1. Any non-conforming use of building or land may be continued indefinitely, but A, shall not be moved, enlarged, altered, extended, or reconstructed, nor shall any external evidence of such use be increased by any means whatsoever, shall not be changed to another non-conforming use, and shall not be re-established or restored if such use has been discontinued for 1 year or has been changed to a conforming use without approval of the Board of Adjustment, which shall find no greater detrimental effect on the community will result. So that's the main, that is the governing statute by which we are judging these proceedings. Okay? All right. Next, let's see. I think what I'll do next is I'll read, I'm going to read the January 14th letter, and then I'll have Michael from, thank you, Cloud Alliance, speak, and then Bowman, if there's any color you want to add to the letter from the 14th or anything you hear there. Okay. Colin, sorry. So this was sent to the Zoning Board of Adjustment on January 14th, 2026. Dear board members, this letter is in response to the pending application for the Swenson Granite Quarry located at 1127 Cabot Road. As noted in the original application materials and discussed during the hearing on November 18th, this application proposes the following modifications to the existing quarry site. Expansion of the extraction and support areas farther north into the site. Addition of 1 portable crusher, which would be brought into the site for a maximum of 45 days per year to crush a maximum of 20,000 cubic yards annually. Change to the approved maximum truckloads, allowing for a maximum of 50 truckloads per day, including all haul trucks from site, granite and aggregate. The expansions of the extraction and support areas are necessary to allow the quarry to continue operating, given the quarry layout, depth, and geological studies, and the urgent need for new grout, waste block, storage areas. These expansions are proposed to the north of the property, farther from any development areas than the current operation. This project will not impact the environmental natural resources and will have a benefit for water quality due to the proposed stormwater improvements. Stormwater and air pollution will meet state requirements and will be regulated under a separate applicable VT-ANR permits. The project, including the new crusher, will not increase the approved noise level of the site under the existing approved Act 250, 55 dBA, 1 hour LEQ at the property line, equivalent sound level over 1 hour. The crusher will be located near the northern support area, farther from development, or within the quarry high walls to lessen noise impacts. With the site operating at full maximum capacity, it is anticipated that the total truck volume, including granite and aggregate, will average 25 to 30 truckloads per day. But given the variability of schedules and demand, a maximum of 50 truckloads per day is proposed. Traffic congestion is not a concern with the proposed traffic as described in the previously submitted traffic study. While it is not anticipated that the proposed truck traffic will cause a burden on the town, it is understood that there are concerns within the community regarding the traffic impacts from this project, as well as existing impacts regarding quarry traffic. Recognizing this concern, Swenson Granite Quarry proposes the following traffic-related conditions to mitigate both proposed and existing impacts on the town and community. Maintaining the current traffic restrictions for trucks leaving between 7:15 a.m. to 8 a.m. and 2:45 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. during the school year. All dump trucks shall be covered prior to leaving the site. No more than 2 loaded trucks shall exit the site simultaneously within 5 minutes to avoid convoying. Year-round, all haul dump trucks, gravel trucks, shall only enter and exit the property via the original Swenson Quarry Road entrance, not the new entrance, which is closer to town. During winter months, all haul trucks, including flatbed trucks, shall only enter and exit the site via the original Swenson Quarry entrance, not the new entrance, which is closer to town. With inclusion of the above proposed traffic conditions and the proposed design, which considers the rural surrounding area, minimizes off-site impacts, and avoids environmental resources, this project will allow this long-standing quarry to continue operating while creating no greater detrimental impact on the community. Please do not hesitate to contact me by phone, etc. All right. Michael, I invite you to speak, please. Introduce yourself and speak, please.
I'm Michael Brandau. I live in Plainfield.
Yep, speak up, Michael.
Louder than that?
Yes.
I didn't need a microphone. Is that right?
Yeah, well, you can stand to
Yeah,
this.
just stand right.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
You get to be close to us, but you get to be recorded.
so I don't live in, I'm not an adjoiner, but I'm an occupant of the property.
Can't hear.
Really?
Well, this doesn't amplify.
Stand to the side. that's all.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Sorry, my voice doesn't carry very well. I'm from Plainfield. I'm not an adjoiner, but I represent Cloud Alliance, which is an occupant of the property. So rather than being an adjoiner, we're in the middle of it. I'm going to read a prepared statement. Cloud Alliance built its tower on Robeson Mountain within the Swenson Granite property in 2011. Can you hear me okay now? Okay. As part of a state of Vermont supported expansion of internet coverage for an area with no other providers. We located this tower after full consultation with the quarry manager and the now retired president of Swenson Granite, Robert Pope. At the time, Bob assured us that Swenson had neither permission nor intention to expand quarrying operations to the top of the mountain. Here's a quote: "There's hundreds of years' worth of stone where we are." That's what he said to us. Our lease was a long-term one with 5-year renewals built in. In 2019, that's 8 years later, Swenson applied to the Environmental Board to dramatically expand its extraction zone. Swenson did not reveal to the board the existence of the tower, either in the application's text or on the provided maps. It also failed to provide notice to Cloud Alliance as a party with an economic interest of its new plans or of the Act 250 hearings. Unbeknownst to Cloud Alliance, Swenson's modified Act 250 permit was granted, and I assume that the town of Woodbury also granted a permit. This new plan placed the tower site about 100 feet inside the support area of the expansion zone. Now, Swenson seeks to further expand its extraction zone and its support area much more extensively than currently permitted. The company notified Cloud Alliance of its intention to not renew the next 5-year term of the tower lease and instructed us to remove our tower from the property so that it could quarry beneath and around the location of the tower. The lease expired in December this past year. Last summer and early autumn, prior to the expiration of the lease, I had discussions with the Vermont Department of Public Service and with Mark Geiger, Polycor's Vice President of Retail Sales. Polycor is the owner of Swenson. Swenson Polycor indicated no flexibility in that regard. Mr. Geiger did offer the possibility of another lower location on the property. He also indicated willingness to extend the lease for 1 year to enable that possibility to be explored in terms of permitting, logistics, and feasibility. Cloud Alliance's tower serves multiple critical functions for itself, for the community, and its tenants. Although its initial purpose has been to serve internet subscribers within its viewshed, the tower fulfills an even more important role of serving as the wireless backhaul connection point between Cloud Alliance's towers in the north in Lamoille and Caledonia counties and those in the south in Washington County. This provides redundancy for the connected towers when any service interruptions occur in either the north or the south by rerouting connectivity in the other direction as needed. Woodbury's volunteer fire department, as part of the Capital Fire Mutual Aid System, relies on tower tenants, CFMAS, that's Capital Fire Mutual Aid System, their radio system for dispatch and other critical communications. Tower tenant, Vermont Electrical Company, or VELCO, also provides critical radio support to its own workers and those of all Vermont electric utilities, which together own VELCO. Both of the CFMAS and VELCO networks are quite extensive, and the Cloud Alliance Tower on Robeson Mountain is an essential linchpin of their coverage. Like Cloud Alliance, as tenants, neither organization can accept loss of this essential infrastructure. Swenson and Polycor agree that as a site leaseholder of Swenson Polycor land, Cloud Alliance has strived to be a model tenant by always paying on time, following all mine safety rules, and maintaining cordial, cooperative relations with quarry management and staff. I think Randy will agree. Cloud Alliance is not a large company. It faces considerable and increasing competition from larger regional and national companies in the area. Replacing the tower is a very expensive proposition. We simply don't have the resources to absorb the losses that relocation of the tower would cause. Cloud Alliance acknowledges that Swenson Polycor does not have a legal obligation to make Cloud Alliance whole. However, in the light of its, 1, having originally assured Cloud Alliance that the tower would never be in the way of its operations, 2, having applied for and received an Act 250 permit in 2019 without notice to or inclusion of Cloud Alliance, and 3, considering its continuing pledge to be a good neighbor to the town of Woodbury and the community at large, including Cloud Alliance, Capital Fire Mutual Aid System, and the Vermont Electric Company, the company has an ethical and moral obligation to fund the relocation or substitution of its tower. I've attached on a separate page all the obstacles to replacing the tower, but I'll spare you the reading of another page, but I'm providing the board with a written copy for their use, and also Swenson. Thank you for your attention, and I'm glad to answer any questions anyone has.
Question?
Would you like me to stay here?
Yeah, maybe stay here so that.
Would you like to submit that document to us?
He has.
I have. You have.
You have.
We have it.
Okay.
We just didn't have enough copies. You don't have it. You don't have a
Okay.
copy
I
of
will
it yet.
give this one.
Yeah.
Where was the question?
That's it, that was it
Oh,
Yeah.
that's your question.
for me.
Okay.
Skip.
I have two questions, and they're not so much for you as to other people. Is there anyone in the room here, and just raise your hand, that is getting their internet service via Cloud Alliance? Thank you. Robin, where does the town's radio communications with the road department come from? Are we on that tower also?
Yes.
Thank you. Oh, one other question for you. How many other towns are you servicing on that tower besides Woodbury? Are you servicing other towns?
Quite a few. Gabbard, Hardwick, bit of Walcott, Callis, Plainfield, East Montpelier, Marshfield.
Thank you.
Mike?
Are those services provided to the municipality itself, or is it also provided to law enforcement?
I'm not aware of any law enforcement antennas on our tower. And those towns I just listed are where we have regular subscribers, we're not serving municipalities.
So you don't have any repeaters up there?
Oh, we do.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, so the towers communicate with the other towers wirelessly. So each of the towers in our system is connected in rings.
Okay.
And this one, the Woodbury Tower is in the center of our whole network. And so there's a whole bunch of rings up north and a ring in the south, and they converge on this tower. So that's why it's such an important connector.
Let me re-ask my question.
Sure.
How many towns are you providing direct support to, such as fire department, et cetera, besides Woodbury?
None.
Okay, thank you.
The Capital Area Fire Mutual Aid System serves all the towns, so that their radio dispatch from here serves other towns. But we don't have such connections from other towns.
Let me ask the question again.
Yeah.
Okay. So the tower at the quarry,
Yeah.
okay, through, what's the name of the organization?
Mutual.
Capital Fire Mutual Aid.
So through that organization is
Yeah.
servicing many towns in the
Yes, it
area?
is.
Okay, thank you.
And more importantly, Velco is serving even a greater area.
And Velco is?
Velco is the Vermont Electric Company, the owner of the whole Vermont grid. All of their workers and and electric utility workers such as Hardwick Electric and BBC and Washington Electric.
Their radio
They're all-
communication goes
They're all
through.
communicating from that tower.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Stand up and state your name.
Carol Ray, since your lease has elapsed, right?
Yes.
Where does that leave you? Waiting for Swenson to pay for the moving of that tower, which they recommend it to be moved? So where does that lie? If this goes on for years and years, and a lease is not fulfilled, what happens?
We're subject to eviction now because the one-year extension that they offered informally has not been presented and consummated. But we have, I have to say, my negotiations with Mr. Geiger have been friendly, not hostile. I don't expect that we're going to have a problem with that, but technically, we're in violation now because we don't have a lease. But we're paying them rent anyhow. Yes.
Michael?
Michael Sadler, can you give us an idea if you had to relocate the tower or you had to put up a new tower? Can you give us a rough estimate of what regulatory hurdles you might go through, what the timeline for first responding networks might be to put their equipment on a new tower? Sort of give us an idea of what the magnitude of changes for time to get a new tower up and operational.
I'll let you answer in just a minute. I just want, the page that Michael did not read has some of that on it, which will become public with the minutes from this meeting. It's not over there yet because we just got it tonight. He walked in and handed it to us. But when we post the minutes from this meeting, it will include that as well. But I welcome any answer you'd like to give to that now.
The permit that we have now was issued by the Public Service Board, which is now called the Public Utility Commission. It's a Section 248A permit. It's a certificate of public good to build and operate 4 towers, this being one of them. If we move the tower, that permit is invalid for that tower. Michael, did you hear that?
I'm sorry, I was just...
Yeah, so if we move the tower, the existing permit becomes invalid for that tower.
And
We need to apply for another permit for that tower.
roughly speaking, what is the lead time between your application and having a fully functioning tower that serves all of the tenants that you have on that tower now?
I can't be sure, but the legal permitting process, if the PUC accepts it as a limited size and scope tower under a certain height and a bunch of other qualifications, perhaps up to 3 months of permitting to get the permit. If we erect a second tower and move the equipment from the first tower to the second tower, the downtime would be extremely limited. If, on the other hand, we relocate the tower, disassemble it, and then rebuild it, the downtime could be a month or 2 months, which could be fairly devastating for all 3 companies, us, Balco, and the fire district. So that's why the idea of a second tower first makes some sense, but it's a more expensive solution too.
Am I correct in assuming that it's not just the PUC that you'd have to deal with, that before you apply for a PUC, for a certificate from the PUC, you'd have to go through some negotiations about the site itself, landowner negotiations, finding the site, selecting the site, that kind of thing?
Negotiations with Swenson only.
Okay, you're anticipating that if you relocate the tower, that it is still...
Oh, we're talking about relocating on the mountain.
Okay, understood, thank you.
In order to maintain all the connectivity we
Gotcha,
have
okay.
now. There's nowhere else around here that
So-
can do it.
This location provides the, optimal line of sight?
It's not only optimal, it's the only one that will work.
Gotcha, okay, thank you.
Lizzie?
Lizzie Higgins. I'm wondering the estimated cost to either relocate or build a new tower and then relocate?
I don't know the answer. It's, I'm gonna take a wild guess, it's a couple $100,000. Might be a little less, I don't know. I've got some estimates. I don't know what the legal costs will be yet. I don't know what it will cost. We have to build a road to it. We have to bring power into it. Don't know what all those costs are yet. But it's significant money. But not necessarily to a very comfortable company in Quebec.
Robin?
Robin Durkee. So if you kept your tower on the Swenson property, but just in a different location, you need a permit for that?
Yes.
John, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Michael, could you or maybe Colin point out on that map where the tower is right now and how it compares to the area that's going to be expanded?
Tower sitting,
Could you step to the side a little bit?
oh, right, it's what this call out is. It's generally in that location up top there.
If you want to flip it around, I can show where it fits in the expansion too.
Yeah, and this is, well, so that is about right here.
Or maybe a little more to the right, but
Yeah,
yeah.
somewhere in that general area.
So it was just on the edge of the original.
Of the current extraction.
But inside the, yeah, what we talked about.
Is there, Michael or Colin, do either of you know, is there a proposed alternate location if this expansion goes through?
There's one,
I think, yeah, correct me if I'm wrong,
right here.
I'm not.
Actually, a little about here. It's near this building, sort of right on the edge of this. That was the proposed ordinance that was given by Polycor. It is a peak of the mountain, but it's not as high a peak as this one.
I assume in terms of, I assume in terms of effectiveness, you have to do site inspections of that and testing, which you have not done yet. Is that correct?
Well, I've spoken with some engineers about doing it, but they want to wait until spring.
Sure. Yeah, understand. So we don't know. Okay.
Oh, waiting for spring.
Yeah. So sometime in July. All right. Any other questions for Michael? Thank you, Michael. Oh, can you state your name, please?
Larry Colonel.
Right.
Is there a more advantageous and productive system than that tower, like Starlink?
It's apples and oranges. Starlink is a wireless service just like ours is. It's satellite instead of terrestrial. Velco is not going to be able to use Starlink for its purposes. The fire department won't. Our customers won't. I'm sure everything can be thrown out and new stuff can be brought in. I don't see that as a practical solution. Others might disagree.
But it's something that could be researched.
Certainly not in a timely fashion to satisfy everybody's needs.
Can I weigh in on the internet-based voice over internet protocol question versus line of sight radios? There's no way that the internet-based voice protocol would ever match the speed and efficiency of a line of sight like terrestrial radio, just because the line of sight radio, like amateur radio, ham radio, that kind of thing, GMRS radio, like I think our road crew uses, that's actual physical waves moving through the air, not bouncing up to a satellite and then back down to the earth. So it's a faster, more efficient form of communication, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So let me try and answer that in a little different way. Starlink is an option for internet service. It is not an option for all the other services that are on that tower. Does that make sense?
versions of Starlink too.
Starlink is not an option for those other things. I'm an IT guy. It's not an option for those other
It
things.
doesn't work for two-way radio like, like emergency crews need. It works for internet, beautifully.
There are other options. There's a reason that most emergency services still use line of sight. Not just here in Vermont, but all over the country, all over the world. They're still using two-way radios instead of satellite phones and internet for this reason. But your point is made that there may be other ways to solve this, and we have not spoken. No one here in this room, to my knowledge, has spoken to the fire department or any of the other people using that tower to see if there's another solution that would work.
I've spoken to them.
There you go. And
They are very alarmed.
yeah, okay. Thank you. Colin, before I read the conditions under review, is there anything that you want to say either about what Michael just said, or your letter from the 14th?
Sure. So, talking about the lease, I will say, I mean, neither Randy or I are, responsible, nor do we want to be with, legal leases or anything of that sort. I will note that regardless of this application, regardless of any, that lease, I think is outside of this from the board's perspective, in that regardless, approve it, deny it conditions, regardless, I think that, we're not proposing, that lease is separate than what we are proposing here. Yeah, the area is changing, but I think the lease is the bigger deal of the, what the concern is. And obviously relocating is a part of that, but I do think that's separate. And even if it wasn't, even if the lease was in place, like you mentioned, the prior support area, I think you're 100 feet in, right? From what the board isn't reviewing, what we're not proposing today. So, and again, unfortunately,
Like I said, I talked to Paul Swoody myself because it was a concern for me, because that's a pretty important thing. And, he told me that he was talking to the Army Corps of Engineers about possibly putting up something.
Mm-hmm.
And, at one time, they did have a tower on our shop that did the town crew and the fire and rescue. And they're more than welcome to put it back.
I'll just ask this question. I assume there's no way for this expansion, it can't stay in that spot, right?
Right.
Okay.
How long before you get to that spot?
Depends on this permit. No, in all seriousness, because the direction that we're going in would buy some time.
Say that again. So you're saying even if we approved the permit, the direction you're moving in right now would not hit that spot right away?
Right.
correct.
Yeah.
So,
It could buy years and years.
yeah, I mean,
Depends on the demand.
if you can see this area. If this, this will, now that'll depend on operations and stuff like that.
Right.
But they're going to end up, it buys them more room to operate without having to hit, go immediately adjacent to the tower and start throwing rock over there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Quick question. So as we aren't going through this every other year or every 2 years, what would you estimate the time down the road we'd be having this meeting all over again to deal with relocating again?
as far as moving the tower,
Right.
so the tower isn't, again, it's regulated under Act 248. So it wouldn't come in front of this board regardless, because it's not regulated under this. So it would be an Act 248 permit to move the thing. And hopefully, the intent is, this is it. Again, what we're proposing here is full build out of the site till 2091, which is when the existing permit expires. So again, right now, that permit for this quarry can operate until for the next 66 years. But they're running out of space. So, but technically, you know, what we're showing here is hopefully well beyond what any of us are going to be dealing with this. So, and this would be the only time, you know, this is long-term plans.
Yes, Mike?
I guess what I'm asking of the board is to consider a condition about assisting Cloud Alliance to relocate the tower because of the public interest that goes with it, not just for our company, but for Velco and the fire department and the highway department. There's a real public interest, and I can't compel them to pay me. They're very nice, and we're talking on the phone, but I don't know what will happen. To be honest, it was hinted that they might pay something. I don't know how much, or if at all. It was hinted. But, you know, negotiations are negotiations until it's on paper. You don't know what you have.
Yeah.
So a condition attached to your permit might be beneficial for the community.
Understood. Thank you for clarifying it.
Thank you.
It was implied.
I know.
But I appreciate the clarification.
I didn't
Thank
write
you.
it. I didn't write it that
Yeah.
way. So yeah.
No, understood.
So can you say again, you
He's
think the board should consider?
a condition, he's asking the board to consider a condition that, that requires Swenson to either fully or partially fund the moving of the tower.
To participate in moving the tower?
To move it
Oh, why not all of it?
That's up to our discretion.
Okay.
He's made a request, and I'm clarifying for Diana what it's up to our discretion whether we want to include it at all, partial, complete. I was saying partial because of what Michael had just brought up about potentially hinting in the negotiations. But, yeah.
What would that mean if Swenson Polycor said no to doing anything about the tower? Does that fall on the burden of the town to come up with that money to replace?
To move the tower?
Yeah. No.
Cloud Alliance,
Yeah.
the Cloud Alliance is a private business. There are things in the public interest that Cloud Alliance is providing right now. So the only responsibility the town had if either Swenson said you can't be on our property anymore, Cloud Alliance said you know what, we don't want to move the tower, anything like that, what the town's responsibility then is to restore the communication systems that are required for our community. But that may or may not be with Cloud Alliance. It may or may not be on, to Larry's point, there may be another solution other than putting something on Swenson's property. So that becomes the select board's problem if we end up there. Yep.
I got one question to that. If you're gonna
State
spend,
your name again.
it's the same as before, Larry.
Yeah, but he needs to hear it for the TV.
If you're gonna invest $200,000 roughly, say for a number, to move that tower, and whatever expenses go into it, and then what's the guarantee that they don't go out of business, and what happens to this whole thing?
Yeah, who doesn't go on to this?
The people that own the tower.
What?
Should I speak to that?
Yes, please.
Well, we don't intend to go out of business, obviously. The tower would be an asset to whoever, let's say we did go out of business, somebody would buy that tower because it would be an asset. And Velco and the fire system, as tenants on the tower, we have a vested interest in keeping it operating. And so absent our internet service, those services could continue to operate on that tower, either owned by one of them or someone else who sees profit in renting to them.
Michael, is the equipment that supports the Velco and the fire department, is that equipment owned by those organizations, or is it owned by Cloud
No,
Alliance?
it's theirs.
So you own the tower that it's on?
We rent space
they
on the
rent-
tower for their equipment.
Okay.
And on the ground, they have pretty substantial cabinets and generators and all kinds of stuff. But that's theirs.
Right. So in that scenario, Larry, there would be options for the town to negotiate, for those organizations to negotiate.
Yeah, but in today's world, this stuff keeps changing fast.
Sure.
Every year, there's another improvement, another way, another system. So now you're going to invest $200,000 maybe to move this. I don't know what it's going to cost, I don't really care. But if you're going to spend this kind of money, and then there's no guarantee, but there might be a better system for these different people, I don't see the game.
Yeah, well, to be clear, the town isn't spending any of this money.
I know, but you're forcing Swenson to be involved in this thing.
Right.
You want
No,
to make that condition to them to maybe spend that $200,000 that may just blow up in their face.
Yeah, understood. Yeah.
So if somebody opens, for example, a gravel pit or something like that with the state of Vermont, they require them to put up a bond in money that if they go out of business, that can be brought back to its original base.
Mm-hmm.
And this is wide open. There's no guarantees one way or the other.
A condition of our lease is that whether we go out of business or not, we have to remove everything from the site unless someone else takes it over.
Call.
I do have a question. When was the tower put up?
2011.
So what happened, where were the emergency services before that?
Fire system was on the maintenance building. They had marginal coverage and they were very anxious to get up higher so that they could cover more territory.
But before that tower, it was on the building?
Town and the fire department, yeah.
And it was, I think it was just Woodbury Fire Department then, right? It
Yep.
wasn't the whole capillary mutual.
I don't know what exactly it was. I know the Woodbury Fire Department was on it in the town.
I think it was just Woodbury Fire Department at the time.
I'd like to move on if everyone is okay with that. I want to be clear that what we've heard from Larry, from Michael, and from Colin, this is all just information that we will all deliberate on. There is no decision made here that we're going to force or attach any condition, right? This is just all information that we're taking in. Okay. Colin, anything else you want to say about the 14th letter or anything like that before?
Yeah, switching gears a little bit
Yep.
on going back to the traffic. Just, to clarify what we're proposing as conditions. So obviously traffic being concerned, and it sounds like this middle curve is one of the worst places. Blind curve coming up over the hill. Right now, this is the new entrance that was put in back in 2019. That second entrance, which is farther from town. This is the old, the original entrance to Swenson. It's an old winding road to the top of the hill. This is obviously a lot shorter, which is why I was put in. But understanding that this is, I don't know, 3/4 of a mile maybe, half a mile between the two entrances. Obviously this being the top, what we're proposing to mitigate essentially during the winter, all the trucks. Right now, trucks can go to this entrance and come in. So what we're proposing is during the winter, no trucks come out of this entrance. So no haul trucks would go into or out of that bad corner. It would only come into this first corner closer to town, this first entrance. And any proposed gravel trucks, anything new coming to the site all year long, they would only enter and exit with this corner. They would never take this back corner. They're only going to enter and exit here, closer to town. And then, so that leaves only during the summer, the only trucks that will be coming in here are dimensional stone trucks. And not
You said the dimensional stone trucks would be coming in that entrance, would be coming out that also?
So in the winter, no one would use this.
I get that.
In or
Yeah.
out?
In or out.
Yeah.
So in the summer, is that upper driveway, the new road, is that would be two-way in and out, or just in?
So this would be, well, we're proposing just in and out so that there's separate operations during the summer.
In the summer?
Correct.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, say that again. So at the top would be dimensional stone? in the
Dimensional
summer?
stone was being pulled out of the corner now.
Yep.
So
That
in
would
the
come from
summer,
the top of the summer.
in and out, those trucks come in and out here, garbage trucks.
Yep.
And then in the winter, no one uses this.
Nobody uses that. Okay. Great. Thank you. Excellent. You good for me to move on? Excellent. Thank you. So I want to clarify before I read these. These are conditions that the ZBA has discussed. They're under consideration. These are not things that we are saying we are definitely going to do. We have not decided that we're going to approve or deny the application. These are just things that are under consideration from what we heard at the last hearing, and wanted to have Swenson and Bowman here today to discuss these, to give us more information, and also to hear the public's point of view on these. So, conditions under consideration. Maximum trucks per day do not increase. I will hand you a copy of this in a moment so that you don't have to try and remember all of these when you want to try and respond. Yeah, you want to give it to me now? Great. And this will also be available publicly. Maximum trucks per day does not increase. Corey will not, I think this is true, we wrote this down. The reason that this came down is because I saw trucks going up the hill during school out, the restricted times. But looking back, I realized, I guess is that allowed, that they're allowed to go up, just not come down? Okay. So I think this one doesn't apply. It said Corey will not allow a truck to leave the property if it is within the restricted trucking time, which I believe you're now, that's in force, correct? We're not, okay, correct. 3, Swenson Quarry will be responsible for sound monitoring a minimum of 5 days when the crusher is running in its first year. Results of monitoring must be submitted to the town clerk no more than 60 days after completion of the first day of monitoring, and successively for each additional day of monitoring. Swenson Quarry will perform sound monitoring as outlined above anytime a different crusher is used. And we can clarify that a little more. And I think we're talking about like a different model. If you don't necessarily, if you get the same model but not from the exact same crusher in a successive year. Swenson will be responsible for additional road dust treatment on Cabot Road. Such treatments will be using materials and at a frequency that is in coordination with the town road commissioner. The expansion and proposed crushing will not impact environmental natural resources, and Swenson will implement the already proposed stormwater improvements. It's just reiterating that's an important stipulation from the town and that we've heard from constituents. So what I'd like to do now, I want to give you an opportunity, but I think the public will have some comments on these as well, and I'd love to get their input first so that you can potentially respond to both. And with that, I'll open the meeting for public comment. Without objection, I'll start with Darren, because I know he's got a school board meeting he wants to get to. So Darren, if you would please stand up and
Darren
statement.
Usinowitz. I had this whole thing written that I originally, I know I sent it to Robin, and I think I sent it to Jonah, but apparently that was not going to be included, which raises a whole other level of concern that I have in openness and transparency of this process to the town and to the residents. Looking back through it, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'll highlight some of my concerns. So one of the first things is that, from what I remember, one of the original sites of the grout piles, that's the grout piles, was going to be visible from Buck Lake and from that area. And that area is, anybody who's been there, I think appreciates that as quite a unique water body. And I think it's pretty unique to the state, let alone the region. So the idea that we're going to pollute that view, if nothing else, is concerning to me as a unique natural area here. The volume of truck traffic that's being discussed, and outside of those limitations that you just mentioned, 50 trucks in, give it a 12-hour window, is a truck every 15 minutes. The idea that that doesn't have an effect on the town, on people, on the neighborhood. I live in a place where I can see that hill. I can see trucks coming and going. And I can see, and I am guilty of it too, the way that people don't stay within those lines coming down that hill. You see that there's nobody coming, you don't mind entirely, I'll admit that. It's a lot different when it's a giant granite truck and the roads are icy and somebody's coming up that hill. I think it would just be a matter of time before somebody gets hurt and we have a bigger issue there. So to say that an increase in truck traffic is not a concern seems really naive to me. I guess, say it that way. So one of the things that I think Colin even just said was that this expansion isn't needed. They just want it. And I don't feel that we as a town should be just giving away our natural resources because a multinational conglomerate wants it. I don't see why we should be asked to give more when I've seen no proposal for anything more from them to us or the town. I looked at the town report, we just got it. I believe $28,000 is what we got from Swenson this past year. Some of that went to the road crew, some of that went to the town, and I don't know how that money works in terms of where it goes and other than the road piece of it. I'm curious how much extra cost there already is for the road crew to maintain that road for the level of truck traffic that's already on it, winter, summer, etc. So an increase, I think, needs to be matched as a permit condition should this go forward. I think there's a lot more that Swenson and Valcourt could do for the community that might offset the harm that they're going to do by further resource extraction. And the idea that resource extraction does not have harm inherent in its very being is, again, naive to me. Again, something that was said too was that, even if this gets approved, it probably won't ever get there in our lifetimes, but I, for one, would like to leave the town better than how I found it, and removing the mountainside, to me, does not leave the town better than when we found it. And I feel for you guys because you're the representatives in the room, and you have a viewpoint and you have a perspective. I don't know exactly where you fit in management, so I don't know how much say you would actually have should you assure all of us, we're not going to do that for 50 years. Well, business changes, it moves, it's outside of your control. And so in 2 years, when a board of directors who has no care for the town of Woodbury in Vermont says, well, we can make an extra 50 grand by pulling out this much more, they're going to make that decision outside of any assurances that we've been given today. So verbal assurances, like saying that the tower wouldn't be affected for 100 years, are all well and good, but if you don't have it in writing, and if you don't have say in the process, I don't know how we as a town would ever be able to say, you know, look, this is what you promised us. And some of that is not just a cold, hard, you know, we're going to screw those people. It's the nature of business, right? Things change. I think that's the majority of it. I think the last thing I'd really like to say is just that we look at the state of the world today, and the idea that any company, and especially a multinational company beholden to shareholders, would not maximize their return on any asset would be foolish to think. And the idea that this company is going to care about our town and our well-being and what happens here outside of the dollar figure at the bottom of the spreadsheet seems foolish to me. And I don't think that we should allow them to just take from us, period, let alone without significant compensation. And what compensation there could be for the removal of a mountain, I don't know. I can't imagine.
Thank you, Darren. Darren, because I know you have to leave, there's just a couple of things I wanted to address real quick that came up in the last hearing that you brought up, and so I wanted to make sure we clarify those. One is the amount that the town gets is not under the purview of this board. The select board manages that, and so that's on them. And there have been some conversations back and forth about that between, I've gone to the select board meeting and discussed some of that. So I just wanted to say that. The other thing that Swenson and Bowman brought up in the last meeting is that with the storage space that they have currently, they will only be able to operate for the next 5 to 10 years. So I just wanted to say that, since that was something you brought up.
And they have plenty of time to figure out alternatives.
I take no point of view on that. It's just because you weren't here at the last meeting.
I appreciate you letting me know.
Yeah.
That's good information to know.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Darren.
Thank you, Darren.
Thank
Good
you.
luck with school board meeting.
Thanks.
Any other comment from the public?
Specifically on those conditions?
No, it doesn't have to specifically be on those conditions. Robin?
Could you?
Sorry, Chris.
Robin Durkee, could you go into detail on the one where you said that they were gonna help with the dust on the road?
Sure, I will reread it. Swenson will be responsible for additional road dust treatment on Cabot Road. Such treatments will be using materials and at a frequency that is in coordination with the town road commissioner. One of the things that came up in the last hearing was the amount of dust, particularly in the summer. And one of the things that Randy had said was he would be happy to treat the road, but he doesn't have permission from the town to do so.
Okay.
And so the idea there was that they have a lot of equipment up there, and they do have some staff up there. They have more people than we do in the town, so the idea would be that in concert, not that they would take over treatment of the road completely, but that in coordination with our road crew, that they would have both permission and an expectation to do some treatment on the road.
So what would happen if they had their truck on the road and it got into an accident? Who was responsible for that? Would it be Swenson that would be held for that, or would it be the town that would be held for that?
I don't know.
That's a select board.
I guess the question I got is, it says, whose truck is involved in the accident?
Right. If it was Swenson's truck that was involved in the accident,
Yeah.
but they were actually maintaining a town road, who will be on the hook for that accident?
Well, I guess you'd have to have more information on the accident itself as to what were contributing factors.
Yeah.
Just because they're up there doesn't necessarily mean they're responsible.
Or that they're town employees.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
There it is.
Larry? Sorry, Chris, I'll get you next.
I'm just trying to follow the concept of where this thing is going, and I'm really having a problem with it. But that rock up there didn't fall out of the sky a year or so ago and land in the town of Woodbury. That rock's been there a long time. Hardwick and Woodbury grew up around that rock. And had it not been for that rock, there wouldn't be no Woodbury or Hardwick. So the concept that some evil people are doing something to hurt this town is kind of out of balance a little bit. And granite is probably the most expensive thing to harvest or to do. It's very, very expensive. And for them to start crushing that rock, it's very expensive. And I don't see how they're going to make money at it, other than the fact that it's a necessary evil to keep this thing going. And they still have competition against people that are crushing blast rock, which is a lot cheaper. So they're not going to be able to run a higher price or some way to make more money because they still got competition. So you're still trying to keep a business going and to make this thing produce, which the last I knew, we paid more money in taxes last year and the year before. And I don't see any way that anything's happened in this town to create more tax money to bring this burden down. And so to keep looking in the direction to bring a stop to this thing or make it harder, I don't see the advantage to it without trying to look really where this is going and try to help it stay together and make a better product for everybody overall so the town benefits. But I don't see the evil person in here that has done something to change this town that grew up around that rock. That's just kind of the way I see it.
Thank you. Chris?
So I guess I'll respond to Larry's.
Sorry, can you just
Sorry,
introduce
Chris
yourself?
Casey. Yeah. I'll respond to Larry's comment. I don't necessarily see an evil person, but I don't have a ton of faith in multinational corporations either. And then I wanted to make a comment about Darren, what Darren said, which I can appreciate so much what Darren said. What I've been thinking about, though, is, we can't get around the fact that here in Woodbury and our neighboring towns, we use granite on our roads, we use crushed granite for our driveways, we use it for residential construction. It's a local product that we're not getting away from using. And, in a time when I think we should be concerned about our carbon footprint, like sending big 10-wheelers to, 45 minutes away to get stone. I mean, it's just something that I think that, I don't know that it's been brought up. I'm sure you've thought about it, but it feels important to say. That's all I want to say.
Thank you. Thanks, Chris. Michael?
Michael Sadler. I think I agree with Chris and Darren, but the thing that I have trouble with is the scope of the project, the scale of the expansion, and the idea that the expansion serves the next 65 years of quarry activity. I think that the idea that the quarry can currently operate for, somewhere between 5 years and a decade puts this thing in its current configuration, puts this into a little bit better perspective. I find some of the parts of this letter to be a little bit, maybe not disingenuous, but a little bit funny. Nothing in here that's described is really like like the benefit for water quality is a regulatory requirement for the stormwater, for the 9050 operational stormwater permit. That's not a favor that they're doing us. In fact, they're using the lowest tier stormwater treatment practice. Is that true, Colin?
That's incorrect. This is not going to be regulated under a 9050. This is actually, what we are applying for is a direct discharge permit. It is actually going to be down to 30 milligrams per liter.
Okay.
So that's why I'm saying what we're proposing here is and if you know, I know I've seen it anyways, but direct discharge has significant monitoring requirements that are monthly, that they're going to have to sample, send that in. That is much stricter than any 3-acre requirement or MSGP requirement.
That is true. That is true.
So that is what's being proposed.
Okay, thank you. I'll continue my comment. I still don't find that there's like a voluntary, like, is there a voluntary, like, are you doing anything in excess of the regulatory requirement for water quality for that permit?
No, I mean, we're meeting that requirement. And I will say 30 milligrams per liter is pretty low. That's low.
But still the regulatory requirement.
Correct.
Is discharge a regulatory requirement for what?
No. We could withdraw our direct discharge permit. We could go in for a 3-acre permit and cover this under an MSGP. And the discharge requirement under the MSGP is 100 milligrams per liter. So what we are proposing here is, there would be quarterly benchmark monitors. This is going to have to be monthly. So that's where, from a water quality standpoint, it is more. The direct discharge is not a permit requirement.
Okay, understood.
So, because it could be covered under the 3-acre 9050 permit and in MSGP, which it is covered under MSGP now, or you can cover it under direct discharge, and there will still be some overlap with the MSGP, which is on public notice.
Okay, understood. That permit I'll retract in because that does sound like it's a voluntary water quality benefit that you are proposing as part of this project. I still have a problem with the timescale of the project that's proposed, and I think that the ZBA should consider that if you approve the project as it's currently drawn, can we flip that around again? I think the ZBA should consider that if you approve the project as it's currently drawn, what you're authorizing is an expansion anywhere within that, is activity anywhere within that approved footprint. That footprint is supposed to serve, am I right, 65 years of quarry activity?
Correct.
Right, so if we divide that impact, or if we divide that timeline in half to 35 years, we're still looking at quite a long time, quite a big operational gain for the quarry, and potentially halving the impact of this particular proposal. Like,
sorry, can I clarify?
if the ZBA, I guess my question is, can the ZBA create a condition of the permit or require modifications that scale back the proposal here?
The size of the.
Okay.
There have to be a reason.
There would have to be a reason.
Yeah.
Can I respond to that?
Sure.
So one thing, this is full build out, and I understand it's very colorful. Each one of these is a different phase. You can't tell. All this orange is proposed in separate phases, sequential phases. So there's a phasing plan that was included with Act 250. These areas, so this area, this area, this area, those are what are proposed in phase 1. Because right now they're dumping all their ground here, right? So they're not going to come, they cannot, how it's proposed is obviously not to use this. Just to open up these because of some, just minor expansions in these areas. When that's this area here, and this blue is what's going to be 5 to 10 years. So if that doesn't happen, this orange, the largest piece here, is the grout storage is what's proposed.
Right.
And I will say that the volume, these areas were not just chosen for no reason, and also the area, the size is not chosen for a reason. It's graded out from the reserve. It's about a 60%, right?
Yep.
It's about a 60% waste rate. Take out 60%, they have to dump it somewhere. And that is calculated. So this is based on the permit duration. This is how much they need for right now, the permit expired, but it is proposed in phases. So here, these three would happen first, not any of this, but this lower section here, they would work and do that along the road, once that, and then move their way. So you're correct that this is a long-term goal, but the alternative to that is, like, this is the master plan for the full build-out of the quarry with maximum thing. And I understand you could approve this, but we're gonna have the same problem where in 5 to 10 years, when these are done, you know, we're gonna have to come back in and say, the quarry again, and we wanna do exactly what we went back, you know.
But to my,
So I would view that phased approach to permitting would be a benefit to the town and not a hardship for, like, I just don't think that that's a hardship.
And I will say that Act 250, it does want to see that. They want to see the full build out because of, you know, they don't like the piecemeal, but they, as a master plan. So that's why this is proposed that way for the full
Okay,
build.
but wait, just a second.
Yes.
But to be clear, those phases are not, I haven't seen anywhere in the application that there isn't a strict time put to those phases. In other words, we're not saying,
No,
there isn't, right? Okay,
No.
just making sure that I didn't.
no, there wasn't.
Yeah, okay, great. Go ahead.
I think that my comment stands then that this build out, this plan in its current configuration, in its current phasing, having no time limitations, right? My understanding, right, that there's no set period of time where phase 1 will not progress into phase 3, phase 2.
Correct. And
Okay.
it's strictly based on volume and when it fills up.
I don't feel any urgency to approve this entire thing. Like, I would say that the ZBA should also consider whether or not there's an urgency to approve this entire build-out. 65 years of operation, that's a long time. 10 years is actually quite a long time. I don't consider coming back from multiple rounds of permitting to be hardship, and if the ZBA has the authority to do that, my view as a townsperson is that you should exercise that authority, because I think that that sets the town up to make sure that we are keeping track of no greater detrimental impact on the community time over time over time. And that's my opinion.
Great. Thank you, Mike.
Oh, can I also say one last thing? Just that as a landscape architect, I have specified Woodbury granite. I understand that it's a unique material. Roland, you and I have worked together at my time with the stormwater program. The quarry has been a good operator, a good permittee. My experience with you all has always been positive. I just don't agree with the idea that there's any urgency to approve 65 years of expansion.
And that's understood. I do get that. And we're not, trying to come in now, but the current permit is valid for 2091, which is, see it showing the master plan of in phases.
I understand that, but I think that a continued dialogue over multiple phases of permitting for expansion is more appropriate for the town to the ZBA to assess greater detrimental impact on the community for not conforming.
Understood.
Great, thank you. Yeah.
A quick question, I assume you must have some form of business plan. My question is, have you done test borings to see what quality granite you have remaining and how much of it is there?
That's probably a better question for Randy. I do know that there are, they did borings not too long ago. Randy would be.
Yeah, it hasn't been bored and tested.
In the whole expansion, the proposed expansion, yeah.
In the green, which is
in the green.
which
Well,
is
that's,
the reason.
the green is the only extraction
Area,
right?
which is the reason.
Orange is
One of
also-
the reasons that they're,
So I guess the question is, if you've done test boring at the current rate, how long can you produce salvageable granite?
I couldn't tell you for sure.
Am I correct in that there's still good rock in the red area? What we're really running out of is storage area. More
Yes,
quickly.
and the deeper you go, the more pressure there is, and that creates, a whole different concern.
Yeah, and operationally, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a reason you're not going that way.
Yeah,
Yeah, and where's that?
because there's 40 feet of overburden that would have to be moved.
Okay. So,
Going
into
towards
the red.
Cabot,
Yeah.
and farther into the red.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay. I'll come back to you, Michael, if I go to Norm. Yeah.
Manuel O'Neill, and
Yeah.
mine is... Please stand up. Manuel O'Neill, and I have not a comment, but a question. I'm new to this whole thing of granite, and I'm wondering, is the Woodbury granite have a high content of silica in it?
It has silica in it, for sure.
So will the amount of silica dust be increased when you crush the stone?
It's gonna have a dust persistent, like you said, persistent system on it, so it knocks the dust down the wet system.
And
long
silica is very cancerous, isn't it?
I think it is a carcinogen, yeah.
So how do we mitigate that so that the landowners and the tenants surrounding the quarry, when they're crushing the stone, aren't exposed to something that damage their health?
So the quarry is under an air permit now.
Yeah.
So there is an air permit now through air pollution, state, that regulates, emissions now, air. It would be the same thing for that quarry. So that would have to be included in the air permit, current air permit. And then if it's over 160 tons per hour anyway, it has to have its own air permit. So it would be regulated by the state under an air pollution permit. To monitor those emissions, and there would be limits and that kind of stuff.
So is it reasonable to expect that those tenants, landowners that live abutting the quarry near the crushing of the stone are more exposed to a health hazard? Even if you're working on averages, because those are averages, and some days are windy.
Yeah, I can't, speak specifics on that, but I do know it would be regulated under air. Maybe the better thing that we can talk about here is, before we get too far down the rabbit hole of crushing and stuff like that, is the first proposed condition, which...
Before we move on to that, I want to let
Okay.
Michael, I'm going to let Skip go, and then we'll have Michael.
So, Ray, did you say that the crusher's going to have a wet dust control system on it?
Yeah.
What was that?
The crusher will have a wet dust control system,
Okay.
which is a pretty good dust control system.
I was going to toss out the idea of the water, but that's great. I'd like to know about the process. There's this Vermont Environmental Board Act 250 application, and there's a town of Woodbury zoning application, and neither of them is controlling, as far as I understand it.
Neither of them what?
Is controlling.
Controlling?
If the ZBA decides to do what Michael suggested, which is to phase this every 10 years, and the environmental board says, we approve this long-range plan, what happens?
I suspect in that scenario, Swenson would appeal the ZBA's decision.
Sure. The other comment in relation to that came to mind was that if the ZBA suggests a phased implementation, there's a little corner over there that could be exempted from excavation, and there would be no $200,000 problem, and there would be no community problem. I don't expect you to do this, but if you do think about doing it in phases, that little corner should be considered as well.
Understood. Thank you. Go quickly, we gotta let Colin move on to the first.
Question for Diana. Diana, you and I talked about this, and doesn't the Act 250 permit take precedence over what the town decides? The Act 250 is going to look at what we suggest.
They have their own standards, and they do take the town's considerations into account, but they would have to decide whether they think the town's decision was valid, I guess.
Right, but in a scenario, we still have jurisdiction. So in a scenario where what Michael just said, it's not as though if Act 250 approves and we deny that they can just go off and do whatever they want. They
You would essentially be, you know, to move into that next phase that wasn't approved by the ZBA.
Yeah.
You'd be in compliance with Act 250, you'd be out of compliance with the town.
Right.
You would be, so there would be a.
Then you would appeal.
So.
We'd have a different discussion. Yeah.
So.
Condition 1.
Condition 1, maximum trucks per day does not increase. I probably should have jumped in early and said this, but that, I mean, realistically, that takes the crusher and the aggregate out. I mean, there's no way that they can operate. I mean, the existing maximum trucks that they have now, they need that for dimensional stone for their existing operation. So if there is no, if it's not allowed that the trucks can increase, there cannot be, I mean, I don't see a way that there can be an extra volume coming out of that facility.
So the last time you were here, you said that you're using half the current trucks. You're averaging half.
Right. But what it doesn't make sense to, and like I said, there's, you know, full build out maybe 25 to 35. But then what happens if they get a lease for a gravel operation now? Right now they're running maybe 14 trucks a day, for truckloads a day, right? But they can get up to 22. Their main business is dimensional stone. If they, in the morning, or whenever they get a demand, they can't shut their dimensional stone down and say, don't come. If the crusher's there, I mean, they're not going to be able, there's going to be, you know, no, you can't bring trucks. And then hopefully, I mean, the goal is that they're maxing out their dimensional stone quantities. And that, you know, those numbers aren't just picked for no reason. They're trying to be, you know,
no, I
to max it out.
understand. Maybe you can explain it as we talked about, right? As we look at it and you look at 20,000 cubic yards,
Yeah.
right? That's about 1,000 trucks of aggregate.
Yeah.
And so, like, the math just wasn't lining up for us as we look at it. And so maybe you can help us understand that better.
Sure. I think the issue is that they're not necessarily going to be, you know, I think 1,000 assumes they're 20-yard trucks.
10 yards. At 10, right?
10 to 12.
Yeah.
Let's see. So what is that? 120. So if you spread it out, let's say they did it for 6 months out of the year, they hauled 6 months, 20 days a month, right? Because I think that comes out to 13 trucks a day, something like that, or maybe 10 trucks a day, right? What happens if it's in the summer in June and July, right? If you're adding 10 to
so now you're
the 22,
but now you're at 32, not 50.
Correct. So I mean that's why I said realistically, on average, I think you're probably going to be looking at 25 to 35 trucks a day. But let's say that during the summer they're just a greater need, right? And so, you know, on average, maybe they're 10, you know, a day if they're hauling the full 20 a year. But that doesn't mean that during the summer there could be 20 trucks, right? I mean, there could be 20 gravel dump trucks because a project needs it right down the road, you know. So demand is just, it's fluid in that. It would be great if it was just an average of the year, and that's why I said 25 to 35. That's on average, I think that is, but there is a variability there. And I think the only way it works is to have some cushion, because what they can't do is limit the operation of the business they're in.
So is 50 the minimum for it to be profitable and worth it?
I would say that that could be, you know, maybe I would have to talk to them, but I would say that potentially that's open for negotiation. I do think, so yeah, like I mentioned, the 22 is pretty set. Like, I don't think you can adjust that. Do I think that the gravel number could go down like we talked?
Yeah, no, well,
10 or something like
22
that?
is already, that's in the
Right.
current, we're not talking about.
Right, but I mean, if it was
decreasing.
changing,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
could they get away with, you know, something a lot less, maybe, you know, 10 gravel trucks, 15, something like that? I don't know, maybe. That could be discussed. And I think that there probably is some wiggle room there. I don't know exactly, you
Yeah.
know, what
I
it
think
is, but,
what we would like to hear is what that,
yeah,
what that tipping point is.
right.
And I'm not saying I'm not saying that we're gonna necessarily go the bottom, but we'd like to understand, we get it, that somewhere it's not profitable,
Right.
right? But we'd like to hear back from y'all what that, closer to that number is.
Well, I mean, I think at some point, you know, maybe 10, 15 years down the road, we might actually increase our production coming out of that quarry, and instead of having, 14 guys, we may have 25 guys up here working. And it's all by the demand, and we're just.
So I think, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, sort of adjacent to that is the initial document, the project overview that we got. One of the questions I had was regarding the traffic impacts, and if you can comment on it, says it will not cause undue traffic congestion through the year 2035. That's the traffic study.
Yeah.
So, because if we were to approve this in its entirety, this would obviously be until 2091.
Right.
So what happens after 2035 if we're taking a long-range view to it?
Yeah.
The immediate impact may be no undue traffic congestion, but after that point, is that a concern for us?
Understood. And I think there could be some, condition in place that could maybe address that. I have seen on other quarry sites where you have to, update the traffic at every, so often if it's in the future or something like that. So I think there could be conditions that could address that, and that could be evaluated for sure.
Yeah, because that seemed to be a very
Absolutely, yeah. No,
overarching concern
I
for
understand.
as well.
Yes, go.
In the previous hearing, two things that came through very, very loud and clear is the community does not want any increased truck traffic on that road, and that dust was occurring as a problem of summer. So we understand the conflict that causes. And we need help from you guys in understanding how we can resolve that.
Yeah.
I'm not asking for you to do that right now. I'm just-
Yeah.
So I think, and I think some of what I'm hearing here tonight is the request is about maximum capacity, which we're not currently at. And like you're saying, Randy, hopefully at some point there's more people up there working and we're doing more. So maybe if we could get more of an understanding of here's where we are now, here's where we're going, and here's what that might look like in terms of.
And I will say, so they're approved now. We're not proposing to change the maximum, dimensional stone rate that they're already doing. But they're not doing that rate right now.
Right.
So, it'd be easy to say like, okay, we're not gonna increase trucks. If they stayed at this, their current rate, which, like you said last time, COVID hit them hard and they really haven't been, at full capacity, maybe they could be under that. But, that's the thing is, those 22 trucks are associated with the maximum that are approved for extraction now,
Of
but they're not
dimensions.
really there
Yeah,
yet. So
understood.
that's the,
And I think what we're asking is for a better understanding of where we are now versus maximum capacity.
understood.
And so we can think about what condition we might, to your point,
Yeah.
how might we structure a condition that doesn't, go past 2035 or something, that we're not signing on for something that goes to 2091
Yeah,
and,
understand.
you get it. Yeah, go ahead, Skip.
One other comment I wanted to make, and I forgot to, is that if we agreed on a lower number than you're currently requested now, and you find you meet that, you can come back to us and ask to increase that. It's not a hard, fast, number. It's just that town has to have input into that, in that decision.
I'm going to say one thing real quick, which I get, there's a startup point, right? You're not going to start crushing not knowing you can get that off the hill and make money off of it, right? And so that's sort of what we're asking here is what is that, how do we understand that? So if we're going to put conditions on it, that it suits the town and still allows the operation. Sorry, Mike.
Yep, the question I have
I
is,
got you.
currently we're at 22 trucks per day. Now, what percentage of those are blocks and what percentages is crushed?
They're not crushing right
Right now, that 22, that's the proposed, that is the current condition, that's all dimensional stone.
It's all dimensional, okay.
There is no crush now,
Okay.
now. They're not approved for crushing yet. They had a variance during the flood.
So, on that 22 per day, I guess what I would suggest is you figure out a different way to word it so that if you don't haul any today, that doesn't allow you 44 the next day.
It's already worded that way.
Yeah. So we're all aware of that then?
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
Yep. Sir?
Tim Perry. I'm just wondering why you're going to use the lower road for the dump trucks, because 2 trucks can't be on that road. And if you got 20 dump trucks coming in there, there's going to be a line of trucks sitting in the cab waiting to get up in there. Why can't they use the speed flow? The granite trucks now are parked down below my driveway, which doesn't bother anything. They wait their turn to go up, but they can't be on that road.
I think it was to break up the traffic on the road.
And to minimize that corner, because of the concern for the town, for that,
But if you're having 20 dump trucks a day, it takes, I would guess it takes 5 minutes to drive up in the yard, get loaded, another 5 to get out. You're going to have quite a few dump trucks sitting in the cab, I think, what you did in there.
And I think there is some coordination before they get in there, right? But I will note that one of the crushing locations that's proposed, if it's not inside the core, it would be on that north side. So it would be closer to that entrance anyway, which is, but yeah, understand.
Would there be space for more trucks to get in so you could time it as they're coming out? Would there be space for multiple trucks up there? In other words, could you stage inside the quarry?
Yeah.
As opposed to on Cabot Road?
And especially with,
I get your point, they can't meet. I mean, you'd have to marshal it, but you could.
Yeah, they would have to holler on the CB, but you made a very valid point. I mean, that's something that would have to be expected for sure, so if you wanted to come get gravel, we'd have to say, well, we got a truck coming at this time,
Right.
one at this time, you can't come to this time.
You can't just show up.
Right, you just can't drive in there and show up.
Do all these trucks have radios that will communicate with?
They normally use a CB.
and I will note that those support areas, with the crusher in the north, there will be a lay down area there. So it's not just, right now it's very narrow, but that would be, wider for up on top.
So just to be clear, the idea, if the crushing is approved, that it's retail. People are coming. It's not like you're selling it in bulk to someone else who's you're selling it by the truckload to whoever wants to buy
I'm
it.
sure I could answer that, but that's, I don't know the answer to that.
Because it would be contracted, the crusher would.
I mean, they might buy, all of it or half of it or two.
Right, they may
I don't
stockpile.
know.
There's nothing preventing them from stockpiling.
No, for Swenson stockpiling, I was asking him, are they gonna sell it all to McCullough's
Right.
and have them parse it out, or are they gonna be doing
They could
it
have
by
one-
tenure?
But they could have one individual in Barry who says, I want to buy what you got,
Yeah.
and they could stockpile it, so there's no,
Yeah, okay,
Could be retail also.
yeah, okay. Carol?
Carol, Rick, I want to get back to what Manuel alluded to. Has there been a stone composite study done on that rock to see the percentage of silica that comes off that rock?
I'm sure that there is, with the borings, there's information, but, I mean, I'm sure that the
I'm
borings
sure
have
it's
that
in the past,
information.
yeah. I don't
Does
know
that-
off the top of my head, but.
Does that go to the state? Is there anywhere that that's public, or is that just, is that?
The
proprietary?
company has probably done a lab test.
And again, the discharges, are regulated, whether it's in the air or via surface runoff.
So there is a study somewhere?
Well, the current air permit has limits on, air pollutants, and then, but the specific rock and what it is, it would have to be the borings, which I'm not sure.
Well, since my land abuts that. I'm
Carol,
really
could you please
concerned-
state that?
Yeah, since my land abuts this whole project, I'm really concerned about the amount of silica that's airborne. I know you have a wetting solution that you do, but still it's airborne. And I really would like that information as a community member because I live.
Is there regular testing? Does that go to, for the current airborne? Does that?
I would have to look at the existing air permit.
Because that would go to Agency of Natural Resources.
Right, it's through the Agency of Natural Resources, the current air permit, and would be for future. As far as, that may be a better question for them. I don't have that permit on me. But there are conditions and limitations as far as air particulates.
So is that up to community members to find that out, or will that be
I
part
mean,
of the reporting?
We can provide that if
Yeah.
necessary,
Mhm.
so.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And I have another comment too, if that's okay. You don't know the size of the crusher, but when you have a crusher, the trucks, the saw, and this is about noise. When you monitor that noise level, have you done those noise tests on residents that are abutting that land, or just on site?
No, so they were done, the monitors were placed at the property lines, because the current permit restriction is at the property line. So the monitor receptors that were done in that noise study, they were done at the actual property line, not at the house, but actually closer than the house, at the property line. So that was.
Could you put one on a near residence to see, with all of those things going on simultaneously, what that noise level is, because it's well above 55.
So just to be clear, the way that the current permit is worded is it gets monitored at the property line. So it's possible that it's louder somewhere else because of how sound goes, right? And so the way it is currently worded is that gets measured at the property line. The conditions, some of the conditions we're considering would require them to prove that they're meeting the standard when the crusher is there. So the new work that they're doing.
Okay.
And so anytime, that's some of the conditions that we just read. So that when they first bring it on, they would have to monitor it for multiple days, provide that to the town. And then if they changed the model of crusher that they would be using at any point, they would have to do it again.
But could that be considered like to have a monitor and closest residence, like up on the hill?
That would be a new requirement, but yes, that's something that we could consider. That there, it would be, I think in the only thing that we could apply that to would be the new work, which is the crusher. In other words, if what's going on there already is exceeding, all they have to meet is the standard that's already approved. Make makes sense.
Quick question on the 22 trucks per day. Who monitors that?
Well, go ahead.
Quarry supervisor.
I'm sorry.
The quarry supervisor.
Quarry supervisor.
And it's, if somebody wanted to see the documentation, they could go back 90 days or something like that and see how many. Okay.
We have to pay the trucker.
Yep. Rick?
Yeah, over near Morrisville, there's a crusher, and they have a berm. They created a berm that's probably almost as tall as this, up to the bottom of the lights maybe even further, so that the residences and businesses on the other side of the road don't have to hear it as loud. I'm wondering if you have some ideas around slowing down, decreasing the noise with some shielding devices or some sort of fences or whatever.
Yeah, and really we were proposing, that's why it was proposed where they're proposed. It was either, you know, that the topography of the area and the limited areas that we were proposing putting the crusher in would act that way in general. So it was either going to be, as proposed now, it's either going to operate in the quarry itself, like inside the high walls of the quarry. So what you're talking about is the walls of the quarry being that buffer. Or it was, there's one location that is proposed on the back side of the hill. And for topographic reasons, it met that requirement without having an additional buffer. So, or something like that, because it wouldn't be an increase above the existing noise limit on site. Now, 100%, if we had proposed or wanted to bring it close to Cabot Road, anywhere like that, it just wouldn't work. You would have had to build a giant berm or do something like that, and that's not what we're proposing at all. And there's a reason that we're only proposing the crusher be located in limited areas, is because it can either operate on the north, where it's far away from the residents, and there's a ridge line there that it's behind, or it's located in the, you know, the quarry itself, where the high walls essentially act.
So, I was wondering, at times did you talk about maybe it couldn't be down in the quarry because of operational concerns or whatever?
So
I think of that from the last hearing maybe? Or can it stay there? Can you set a crusher down in there and it can stay there?
Well, it's all depending on the dimensional stone operation as well. So that would be coordinated between Trevor and them about how they, you know, where it's located on the, you know, in the extraction area where it doesn't obviously, they're not going to allow the crusher to come and sit right where they're taking rock off the face or something like that. That would all be coordinated.
So the crusher might get moved to a different place, or you would just shut the crusher down for X number of days or whatever?
That would all have to be coordinated, you know, that would all be coordinated internally, you know, between the crusher company and Swenson. They would have to figure that out. Yeah, ideally, it would be great. It's, you know, to put it somewhere else completely out of the way of operations, but again, the reason where, you know, these two don't meet, but it's not feasible, and the reason for that is noise.
So this other place that you talked about, is that going to be on the east or the north?
On the north. So
the secondary place you might use?
This road comes up, this is the hammerhead here, it comes up, so it's right, there's one location that it could be located.
Is there, you said there's a ridge line there, is there any topography blocking where that crusher would be to Buck Lake? Or will Buck Lake be hearing that a lot?
No, there isn't, but the property line continues out, which is why it's there is one location on the property from modeling it that it works.
Okay.
And it's literally, that it's outside the court. And that's the reason, and primarily because you can see the property line continues out.
Right.
The property line keeps going. I mean, the property is 500 something acres, and it goes for hundreds of feet that way. So by the time, it hits the property line, then it meets the required noise level. But, but it was definitely modeled.
So there's no higher land mass toward Buck Lake that would stop sound, or there is?
Correct.
There isn't.
There
Just be
isn't.
trees.
It's just trees and distance.
Did you? Sorry, I'll come back to you, Carol. She had her hand up at one point. You're good. Okay. Thank you. Go ahead, Carol.
I'd like to know, can you show us on the map, you talked about adding on to the road or moving the road, that would be the lower road, right? The original road into the quarry. Do you want to extend that?
So, yes, let's see. So this is the old quarry road, it wraps up and comes back this way, back up to the quarry. So the intent is, again, in phases, but once this is done, it would move below the road, and the grout pile would start from the existing road. There's already, the embankment there. It would put the grout there, right? When that was full, they would have to bring that grade up, and the road would be, essentially that upper leg of the road would move uphill, because they're going to fill that pile higher. So.
Okay, and that's years down the road.
Correct.
And that's where the tower is?
No, the tower is up.
Okay, okay.
So the tower's up.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments from the public? Yeah, Mike.
Can we have a quick understanding of what the ZBA considers, like a detrimental impact? Like, what is that? You read the passage at the beginning. It's a little lost on me now.
Yeah.
But what qualities of a project might constitute a greater detrimental impact? What changes in a project?
I think the only way. Yeah, I'm going to use the Supreme Court definition. We know it when we see it. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, honestly, it is a broad enough statement that that's up to the discretion of each of us as individuals.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
With their input.
Yeah. Ultimately, it's it is your decision what you think is
But taking into consideration your input too as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public? Randy, Colin, anything else from you?
I don't think so. I mean, I hear you loud and clear on the full build out. I think we could definitely there could be something, it's definitely understood on that. And again, the reason for that is the existing permit limit, right?
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do is to show the full build out of the site and for what's permitted now, right? I mean, what we don't want to do is get into the situation where maybe in the past, you don't see the full picture of what's happening. 2091, it's like, great, so what's happening in the future? And this design is meant for the full build out of the site, right? 100% understand phasing, lifespan, that's a long time. I think it's a very valid point. And I think that's definitely, something. Right. As far as the trucks go, I do think...
We hear you on that.
Yeah.
So
I think we're good on that. But...
and then, was there anything else? The only other one in here that seemed like I wanted to double check on is did we hear that correctly in the last time that there was some willingness for participation in the road treatment?
It might be better off to, maybe they contribute more to the road crew to put more on themselves or something like that. I think it would be more legal reasons.
There
It's
could be some
kind of
legal...
up to the road commissioner if they want anybody else
Yeah, understood.
Yeah, I mean, it's
working
kind
on
of
their
a
roads.
tricky legal deal to be on a public highway.
Yeah.
So we're retracting, the last understanding I thought we had was that you people were going to do it, and now you would prefer that the town do it with extra revenue. Is that somewhat accurate?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I have one more thing that comes to my mind, and that is, I think brought up at the first hearing was idling trucks downtown, which I live on the county road, so I don't really come over here very often. But I wonder what the town and the quarry can figure out around, if that becomes an issue, if you've got 3-4 trucks idling down there waiting to go up the hill, or let's say they can't, there's no more room in the quarry to...
No, it's generally done because of the road condition. And they're not, they try to not come until 8 o'clock because the road is supposed to be plowed and sanded by 8 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they get there and it's not in good condition and they can't make it up, so they're either waiting for the town truck, or sometimes they wait to make sure the first truck makes it before you send another one on.
Well, yesterday I left this morning, the hill was bare. I was gone for 2 hours, we had a little snowstorm come through and the truck stuck in the hill,
Yeah.
It happened quick.
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah.
So during the warmer months, any trucks idling down there would be just waiting for the school time?
No, because they can
No,
go.
they can go
up through.
They just can't come
There shouldn't be
down.
nothing there.
Like there's room for them to sit up there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Part of part of our concern with having Svensson treat the road was we have very, very limited road crew staff. And Svensson could be a big help to the town. And
I can entertain it and see, where it leads to for sure. I mean, I just.
I hear you on the
We don't,
liability.
we don't have a legal truck to put on the road for one thing, and, and like our quarry, we had that, we hired that done.
Right, resources.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Anything else from the public? Board? Okay, great. So I'll just reiterate what we'll do now is we're going to go into recess. We'll have a deliberative. We will have another deliberative meeting. We'll request some of the information we've asked from you. We'll give you some time for that so that we can do that before we have our deliberative session. And then after that, we'll decide whether or not we're going to have another public hearing or whether we'll just issue our our ruling in writing. Any questions?
Any final comments?
Final? Yeah, Kaki?
Where does it go? Where does your ruling?
It would get posted it'll get posted in the town office. And then we would probably we'll do front porch forum. No? On this one? I mean, typically, generally what we do is we post it in the town office and we send it to the concerned party. This one has a little more interest in it. Normally it just goes to, if someone wants to put up a shed, we just tell them.
We usually do it at the post office, at the bulletin board too.
Yep, that's
There
right.
might be like a notice on the web page or something that the use permit has been issued, and if you want to see it, you can go to the website or something.
Yeah, so we could put that.
It'll be more than just a 2-page.
Yeah, but we could put a notice on like Front Porch Forum or the community saying that the ruling that it's been reached, right? So that people can look at it. Yeah.
Could you post the whole ruling on the website? Or just
Yeah.
Post what?
Post the ruling on the website.
Not just a
We can do
notice
that.
that it's in town hall.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Excellent. All right. Thank you. Then we stand at recess. Thanks, everybody.